I came home to find my privacy hedges hacked to pieces and a $750 fine taped to my front door. Little did the Pinewood Estates HOA know they'd just crossed their new financial auditor, a guy with 5 years of their shady financial records at his fingertips. How would they react when they realized what I could uncover? Comment below where you're watching from. Fury surged through me as I stared at the stubs of my once lush privacy hedges. 6 years of nurturing, trimming them every weekend, gone in a matter of hours while I was at work. My hands shook as I snatched the yellow notice from my door. Vegetation violation corrected. $750 landscaping fee applied to your account. Pinewood Estates HOA. I stormed to the garage, grabbed my measuring tape, and checked the remains. Exactly 3 feet tall now. The HOA rules allowed hedges up to 7 feet. Mine had been 6.5 feet, measured religiously every Saturday morning. Someone had trespassed on my property and obliterated my privacy for no reason. Through the gaps, I spotted Linda Harris across the street, smirking while pretending to water her roses. She'd griped about my hedges blocking her view at neighborhood meetings more than once. I marched inside, dialed the HOA office, my pulse pounding. Pinewood Estates HOA, this is Susan speaking, came the chipper voice. Susan, it's Ethan Carter from 243 Oak Lane. I just got home to find my hedges butchered and a $750 fine on my door. Who authorized this and why? I demanded. A pause, then typing. Yes, we received multiple complaints about visibility issues with your hedges. The board voted on it last Thursday. Didn't you see the community email? What email? I never got any notice, and my hedges were within regulation height. I measure them weekly. Susan's tone cooled. The board determined they exceeded height limits and obstructed sight lines at the corner. The decision was unanimous. That's nonsense. I want to speak to Patricia Evans now. The board president is unavailable. You can file a formal appeal, but the landscaping fee stands. The work's done. I hung up, pacing my living room, hands raking through my hair. This wasn't just unfair, it was illegal. They couldn't enter my property without proper notice. Camera in hand, I went outside to document the damage. As I snapped photos, a sleek black SUV rolled by. Patricia Evans, HOA president, lowered her window, her flawless auburn hair unmoving. Looks much better now, Ethan. The neighborhood appreciates your compliance. I was in compliance, Patricia. This was trespassing and property destruction. Her smile was icy. The board has authority to address violations after proper notification. Check your email next time. As she began to roll up her window, I shouted, You targeted me, just like you did the Petersons with their fence last month. Her window paused. Careful with accusations, Ethan. This community thrives on rules and respect. Some struggle with both. The SUV sped off, leaving me fuming. Then my phone buzzed. An email confirming my new job as Pinewood Estates financial auditor, starting Monday. The board had approved my hiring last week, but Patricia wouldn't get the paperwork until tomorrow. They had no clue I'd been granted full access to their accounts, spending logs, and decisions for the past 5 years. I grinned for the first time since getting home. Patricia thought she held all the cards, but she'd just dealt me a winning hand. Inside, I opened my laptop, creating a folder, HOA Audit, Priority Files. That night, sleep eluded me. Through my now exposed window, I saw cars pulling up to Patricia's house, board members arriving for an unscheduled meeting. David Lopez, the only board member who ever opposed her, parked across the street, looking uneasy as he hurried inside. I set a phone reminder to talk to David tomorrow. If Patricia was calling emergency meetings, something bigger than my hedges was brewing in Pinewood Estates. At dawn, Linda's lawnmower roared to life at 6 a.m., another noise violation Patricia ignored for her allies. Over coffee, I pored over the HOA bylaws, marking rules on property access, notifications, and voting procedures. One thing became clear: Monday would kick off a reckoning in Pinewood Estates. They'd messed with the wrong guy. At 8 a.m., I hit the county records office. The clerk quirked an eyebrow as I requested boundary maps and easement records for Pinewood Estates. Renovating, she asked, handing over a thick binder. More like solving a crime, I replied, flipping to my street. The maps confirmed it. The HOA had no easement rights on my land beyond utility access, nowhere near my hedges. What they'd done was blatant trespassing. Then I noticed the landscaping company on my violation notice, Prime Cut Solutions, had registered just 3 months ago. The owner? Stephen Evans, Patricia's brother-in-law. I snapped photos of everything. Next stop, Linda Harris's house. Her car was in the driveway. She'd be watching her morning shows. I knocked hard. Her smile faded when she saw me. Ethan, what a surprise. Morning, Linda. Those sprinklers are busy for a drought restriction day. She glanced at her yard, where water sprayed despite county rules. Just a quick watering, she muttered. Funny how some violations get ignored while others get instant action, like my hedges. Know anything about those complaints? Her face reddened. Well, they block the intersection view. A safety issue. My property's mid-block, not on an intersection. County maps show no sightline problems. She shifted. Patricia said. Patricia said what? I pressed. I told the garden club your hedges made it hard to spot suspicious people. Patricia said she'd handle it. Linda edged her door shut. No formal complaint? No notice to me? That's against bylaws. Talk to Patricia, she said, closing the door. Oh, I will. When did they start waiving water restrictions for garden club pals? For 3 hours, I roamed the neighborhood, photographing violations. Patricia's oversized gazebo, Tom Miller's unpermitted fence stain, the Wilsons' overnight commercial vehicles. All board members or friends, all ignored. As I shot Patricia's non-compliant mailbox, her SUV pulled up. New hobby, Ethan? Her voice was syrupy, her eyes hard. Just admiring the neighborhood. Lots of rule exceptions here. Neighbors who cooperate find compromises. Troublemakers face scrutiny. A threat, Patricia? An observation from 15 years running this place. Tonight's board meeting, file your complaint there. We have a forum for chronic whiners. She drove off. My phone buzzed. HOA management confirmed my Monday start, attaching preliminary credentials requested by David Lopez. I logged in from my phone. Landscaping payments had tripled in a year, with Prime Cut Solutions pocketing $200,000 for emergency vegetation management. My hedge job? Billed at $1,500, $750 to me, $750 from HOA funds. A car door slammed. David approached, glancing around. Ethan, we need to talk. Not here, Riverside Park, 20 minutes, Duck Pond table. At the park, David handed me coffee. Patricia's planning something big. Last night's meeting was off the books, no minutes. About my hedges? Just the start. They're using safety to push a $1.2 million renovation, all to Prime Cut Solutions. I nearly spat my coffee. That's our whole reserve fund. And they'll take a loan. It's funneled through Patricia's brother-in-law. Next week's vote is rushed because the last financial review raised flags. When they hired me? Yep. They don't know it's you yet. Just needed credentials for the bank. Be careful. The last guy who challenged her lost his job after she meddled. I'm not scared of Patricia. You should be, David said, nodding toward her SUV across the pond, watching us. Monday morning, nerves tight, I grabbed my briefcase, stuffed with hedge evidence, and drove to the HOA office. Susan's stern face melted into shock when I flashed my badge. Mr. Carter? What are you doing? Starting my job, Susan. Financial auditor, hired last month. Her jaw dropped. But your hedge complaint. Funny how it worked out. I need all financial records, 5 years back. Start with landscaping. Her hands shook as she logged me in. Patricia usually handles those. Today I do. For 4 hours, I dug into spreadsheets and invoices. Prime Cut Solutions had raked in $216,700 last year alone for emergency vegetation management, triple market rates. Ownership? Stephen Evans, married to Patricia's sister. Violation notices showed a pattern. Board allies got a pass. Others got hammered with fake fines. My $750 wasn't unique. At 4:30, Patricia's voice echoed in the hall. I grabbed my papers and slipped out the back. Driving home, I spotted David walking his dog. Heard about your hedge violation, he said. Rough. Did you know we're paying triple to Patricia's brother-in-law's company? His eyes widened. How? Started as auditor today. He whistled. Patricia's edgy. She called an emergency meeting tomorrow about internal threats. She's trying to fire me before I report this. I handed him copies. If anything happens, get these to every homeowner. That night, Thomas burst in, pale. Patricia's texting the board. You're abusing your role over a grudge. She's voting to axe you tomorrow. Let her try, I said, showing my presentation. Nepotism, inflated contracts, selective enforcement. I'm crashing that meeting. She'll block you. I tapped the bylaws. Article 7, Section 3, residents can present financial info at public meetings. She can't stop me. Rain soaked the packed community center lot that Tuesday. Linda blocked the door. You're not welcome. It's open to homeowners, I said, brushing past. Inside, whispers hushed as I plugged my laptop into the projector. Patricia glared as she tapped the mic at 7 p.m. Before business, we're addressing our new auditor, Ethan Carter. He's misusing his role over a petty grudge. We're voting to terminate him tonight. I stood. I'd like to share my audit findings first. Not on the agenda, she snapped. Bylaws say I can. I countered, clicking my remote. My butchered Hedges flashed up. You know this story. Here's why. Next slide. Emails from Patricia ordering my hedge cut despite compliance. She lunged for the cord. Private communications. As auditor, I have access. Homeowners deserve to know about unfair enforcement. Slides showed Prime Cut's $500,000 haul since 2021. Triple rates. Owned by her brother-in-law. Gasps rose. An old man shouted. They charged me $900 for one tree. I nodded. They billed the HOA $1,200. Market rates $350. A map followed. Green dots for board allies, violation-free. Red dots for the rest, citation-heavy. Friends get a pass. Critics get targeted. This is slander, Patricia yelled. Public record, I said, showing ownership docs. Voices erupted. Fines for rose bushes, paint colors, basketball hoops. I clicked again. Our reserves dropped 40% in 2 years. No major projects explain it. Patricia grabbed the mic. Meeting adjourned. David stood. Motion to continue and vote for a forensic audit. 5 years back. Hands shot up. Motion passed. Patricia stormed out, hissing, You'll regret this, Ethan. This is my neighborhood. You've taken from it for 15 years, I whispered back. There's a difference. At 6:15 a.m., banging woke me. A bulldozer idled outside. Patricia in a safety vest directing a crew. Emergency pipe inspection, she smirked, waving a paper. Water leak under your yard. My plumbing's fine, you need notice. Not for emergencies. Neighbors gathered as I called David. He arrived, eyeing the order. Needs 3 signatures, this is fake. I pointed at the crew's generic gear. Why is this Johnson Brothers, not City Utilities? The crew packed up as news vans rolled in. Patricia fled, vowing, This isn't over. I told the camera. I'm showing how one woman ruled our neighborhood, and how we're taking it back. 6 weeks later, the TV blared. Former HOA President Patricia Evans arrested for fraud, misappropriating $400,000 via fake invoices and kickbacks. Neighbors flooded my house with food, celebrating. Thomas brought champagne. She tried to fire you that afternoon, but homeowners and detectives were waiting. Diane flipped first, then Robert. The forensic audit exposed it all. Overpriced landscaping, drained reserves. I told the room. The county's forming an HOA fraud task force. I'm joining. And those $750 fines? Refunded with interest. Outside, new hedge shoots sprouted. A woman stopped her car. Is this a good neighborhood? Thomas and I smiled. It is now, I said. From ruined hedges to a saved community. Who'd have thought?